Hello, welcome to UXBRIDGE Station. We're on the Met Line, it's Train Sim Classic, and we're going to have a run today from UXBRIDGE through to Baker Street. Really is beautifully represented by Just Trains UXBRIDGE Station. You go through right through the heart of the station, through the ticket barriers. There's the old famous train indicator to give you an idea which is the next train to go, whether it to be on the Met Line or not. So let's get the train set up and ready to go. The den management handle into position. We don't want the warning going out on that every 5 seconds. And then here's the briefing. So this is to set the announcements up. This is part of a shift. The only thing I've changed is the weather. We've set this to autumn. Do have some lovely colours at this time of the morning. Train number is 434, but the crucial thing is the destination code 230. That will mean we'll get the announcements in a moment. So let's open the doors.
This is UXBRIDGE. This is the main station, Metropolitan Line train to Baker Street. The next station is Terminus.
Blue pilot light coming on incidentally tells us quite clearly that the doors are well and truly shut. We set off all the alarms if we try to move off with the doors still open. I think I get slightly confused with the speed limits out of UXBRIDGE is that you don't have to wait when you see the speed board to get the end of the train through like you would do with a normal national rail service. You can change to the highest speed limit the moment you see the speed board, but for this little section out of UXBRIDGE, don't ever see it saying 50, so not totally sure. We'll try and drive this as accurately as possible. We have all sorts of shenanigans to deal with in terms of the approach controls and the draw-up signals. It's quite complicated. I've done it a few times before, although not for a while. Station stop is Hillingdon. about 30 mile an hour roughly entering the platforms. We've got the first of the approach control signals at the end. We need to be doing 9.9 miles an hour or less for that red signal to clear to green. That little white marker on the right, that's the crucial thing here.
This is Hillingdon. This is an all-stations Metropolitan Line train to Baker Street. The next station is Ickenham.
Had that view a few times driving through into central London on the A40. Stations are spaced quite closely together. I thought I'd got that spot on them, but I think I'm just a yard or two short.
This is Ickenham. This is an all-stations Metropolitan Line train to Baker Street. The next station is Ruislip.
You know if you got it right, because the display down there is supposed to be like a video of the platform to show you whether there's any passengers joining the train or not. Supposed to be able to do it from this angle, but I find that a bit fiddly to keep doing every stop that you come in. Tremendous effort by Just Trains to give us the whole of the Met line. So we could come in from Amersham, Chesham, Watford. It's all on there. We could go to Baker Street, or in this case we'll terminate at Baker Street at the terminating platform, but there's perfectly possible to take it on to Aldgate as well. Momentarily forgot whether you pronounce it as Aldgate or Aldgate. A bit like the old Aldi debate, I think, which was the
is Rycliffe. This is an all-stations Metropolitan Line train to Baker Street. The next station is Rycliffe Manor.
I've got the platforms stop right on this one. The idea is those screens that you can see below, they won't disappear until the end of the train has passed through the platform. Love to be able to drive this route without the HUD below, but I don't know it that well. I suppose the early stages is pretty straightforward because it's all 50 mile an hour essentially out of Uxbridge, but it gets a bit more hairy, particularly after Finchley Road.
Station is Rycliffe Manor. This is Rycliffe Manor. This is an all-stations Metropolitan Line train to Baker Street. The next station is Eastcote.
Interest of safety.
Trying to be clever there and show us pulling away and nearly ended up reversing it, and it's a right nuisance if you get the alarms going up. Perhaps we'll stick to driving from the cab. Using the power brake controller, which is lovely to do, but just occasionally it gets it slightly wrong. This is Eastcote. This is an all-stations Metropolitan Line train to Baker Street. The next station is Rayners Lane. a couple of those stops we've virtually nailed it. You could see the little door above there just flashing up very briefly and then went off, so kind of implies we were very, very close to it. We are in full control all the way. Of course, nowadays in the section that will be riding between Finchley Road and Baker Street, currently it's all ATO, automatic train operation, so all the driver has to do in those sections is open the doors and the train, and close the doors, and the train will control itself. This is set a few years before with the signals falling in place, so it makes it a bit more interesting. Get a little bit of stutteriness at times. It is a very detailed route. Line leaves us after here.
This is Raynard Lane. This is an all-station Metropolitan Line train to Baker Street. The next station is West Harrow.
Intrigues me why there's no approach control signal there, and there has been on most of the previous ones, so I have no idea why that's the case. Again, if you pass the speed board and you speed up immediately, the game thinks you're speeding, but you are actually following proper London Underground practice, so I think I prefer to do that. Possibly can. Bakerloo line on Trainsim World, it's a bit more clever and it works it out depending on the speed of certain size.
The gap between the train and the platform. Find the gap between the train and the platform. This is West Harrow. This is an all-station Metropolitan Line train to Baker Street. The next station is Harrow on the Hill.
shortly going to join up with the other parts of the Met Line and the Chiltern main lines as well, which is of course National Rail. Fantastic that all the branches are represented on this lovely route from Just Trains, and I think having the announcements on is an added bonus.
Metropolitan line services to Watford, Chesham and Lewisham, and National Rail services.
That's the feeling of quite an interchange station, Harrow on the Hill. It's classic architecture as well.
This is Harrow on the Hill. This is an all-station Metropolitan line train to Baker Street. The next station is Northwick Park.
I do have a sound pack installed. I think it was from a chap called Sam T, as I recall. There are a couple of decent sound packs available. It's the only slight letdown with the original route from Just Trains and the S8, which is other than that beautifully represented.
The next station is Northwick Park.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
This is Northwick Park. This is an all-station Metropolitan line train to Baker Street. The next station is Preston Road.
Desperately trying to avoid any alarms on running this train because it's quite an affair to get it started again once you get an alarm going off. Certainly found it quite stressful the first few times I drove it. Bear in mind, I kind of do this as a hobby for relaxation. You've got that one at last.
This is Preston Road. This is an all-station Metropolitan Line train to Baker Street. The next station is Wembley Park.
Stations. You go to Wembley Stadium, you can get off at Wembley Park being one of the key ones really. It takes you right onto Wembley Way, that's just about the nearest. Wembley Stadium on the Chiltern Main Line. It's Wembley Central as well. I think most would head to Wembley Park. Remember where the stop marker is. This is it coming up. Got it.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
This is Wembley Park. This is an all-station Metropolitan Line train to Baker Street. The next station is Finchley Road.
long stretch now before it's like as though we're into 50. Quite a long stretch now before we stop at our next station at Finchley Road. There's a few stations in between here that we pass sailing through. I think it's the Piccadilly line that trains stop on. There's a big depot at Neasden. Technically there is a platform here on the Met line at Neasden. I think it's only kind of used perhaps in early morning for staff workings, that sort of thing. Staff to get on and off at. Slow down to 40 pretty much here, and then we've actually got the 60 after that. It's unheard of in the London Underground, really. I suppose I'm a bit old-fashioned calling it London Underground, really. TfL, most people will think a bit of these days. There you go, that's the 60 board. So much time just getting a representation of all these buildings. I know that the stations are all custom built and very accurately done as well. Just the general scenery. There's one route I'd love to see on Trainsim World. It'd be the Met line. I think it would be absolutely fantastic in a little bit of a leap up. Who knows, it might come about. You can see the real dedication that the Just Trains team have put into building this route. Driving this thing, it accelerates away pretty quick and brakes pretty sharply, so even when you could see the speed dropping to 50 as it will do shortly, you don't have to do it immediately. See the board coming up.
Change for the Jubilee line.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
Well, a bit short there. Come on, Kevin, let's get it a bit closer. That's better.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
This is Finchley Road. This is an all-stations Metropolitan Line train to Baker Street. The next station is Baker Street.
Okay, coming up, this is the section that is quite tricky, and it took me a few attempts to get it right when I first had the game, but it's a while since I've done it. I've never done it talking about it at the same time, so we have to be careful. We have these approach control and draw-up signals to negotiate, and if you're not doing the right speed, they just won't clear. There's no proper guide to them in the Just Trains manual. I downloaded a PDF from somewhere, I can't even remember where now, but it gives a decent clue as to what's going on. We'll try and do it as best we can. First one we're looking for is at the end of the first single board tunnel at Marlborough Road, approach control. We have to be doing 19.9 miles an hour when we see that. At the moment I'm doing more than the 30. So it's at the end of here somewhere, as I recall. See the yellow, so we need to drop down now to below 90.9. And that little grey white marker thing at the right, that's the clue. There you go, so that signal is now cleared to green. Okay now. I'd like to just zoom in a little bit just to get a better view. And the next one is at the end of the second single board tunnel, but it's 39.9 miles an hour, so this one's a bit easier. See the 45 marker coming up, so we can speed up at this point. Here we go to 45, but just bear in mind that I tend to just go keep it at 30, below 40, just for that reason. One is coming up as well. Before you re-enter the tunnels, it's 40.9. And it's just about where this 25 mile an hour marker is. hard to believe that drivers in real life had to obey these signals before the automatic train operation came in. Yeah, we've got a green, so we're okay. Now it's the next one that I find really tricky, because you don't come to it, you don't even see the red signal, it's on a bend. I'm not sure if that's totally accurate. And you also need to slow down to 4.9 miles an hour, so I must admit I tend to be a bit cautious on this one. Around this bend, if I remember rightly. Yeah, you can see there. Yeah, we need to be going at 4.9 by the time we get to that marker again. And it's also downhill as well, so very easy to catch you out this one. Yeah, it's clear to green, so we're okay. Then the next one is 9.9 miles an hour. You're also keeping an eye out for the fact that you could have a...
The next station is Baker Street. Change for the Bakerloo, Circle, Hammersmith City and Jubilee.
That might not clear.
Exit for
You might have a train at the
Mind the
platform.
gap between the train and the platform.
Yeah, just pressing tab there, that gives us the arrow. That takes us into the Terminus platform. But you could have a train that was coming out of one of these platforms, so you have to be really, really careful entering Baker Street. We'll do another one at some point where we're going straight through into Aldgate. I'll probably not explain myself very clearly, but I find it a little bit difficult driving it and explaining at the same time. But again, a lovely representation of the station here at Baker Street. Again, one of the gems on the tube network, really. Hope you've enjoyed this run. I've certainly enjoyed it. It feels like a little bit of a edge. That'll do, I think.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
This is Baker Street, where this train terminates. Please take your belongings with you when you leave the train. All change.
Again, I mean, look at that detail. You've got that sign, that's all there in real life. You've got the other section. I think this is where the Circle Line trains go through. It's just such an attention to detail. Beautifully done. Absolute pleasure to drive that. Well, I'll be back for another train sim video. But until then, it's goodbye for me.